Hey everyone, this is Pat Badger from Extreme, and you are watching Brave Words in association with Sonic Perspectives.
The chosen one, gonna lift you up, straight to the top. I'm gonna raise you up, then rip you apart. I'm gonna lift you up, watch you rise, watch you fall. Gonna raise you up.
I'm Robert Cavuto, and today you're watching Brave Words in association with Sonic Perspectives, and we are chatting with Pat Badger of Extreme to talk about the band's new album, Six, that's due out on June 9th. Welcome, and thank you so much. It's an honor to speak with you today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love the album. I've been listening to it nonstop since I got it. Congratulations.
Okay, you got the whole album.
We got the whole album. It's killer.
Right on.
It's a shame it's got to wait a whole mess of months to finally come out, right?
Well, we have a couple of new songs that'll be released this month. So I think, obviously leading into the release, you release a couple, a few videos, few singles. So it'll be some new stuff for people to see very soon.
Very cool. Would you consider this album to be a comeback album, or have you guys never left?
It's hard to really, qualify it as a comeback thing. I mean, I suppose as far as, we haven't released an album in 15 years. So I guess to some people this would be considered a comeback, but we've continually been touring and doing some dates, around the world for the last decade or so. So, but it is, there is a feeling of, a lot of excitement about it. And, when they're like the pot of boiling water is just kind of, just about bubbling up and about to start boiling. That's kind of the feeling right now. Just pretty excited to get have the album come out and start the tour.
Oh, it's awesome. I feel very fortunate that I'm one of the first people to hear this album in 15 years. And I'm sure you're getting this question a lot, but what took 15 years to get it out?
So, we all have, I suppose we all have different interests and different things that we're always experimenting with, different bands, different projects. It wasn't like, 15 years ago we said, let's start working on the new album. And it took us 15 years. It was more like we had 10 years of doing other stuff. And then, probably in the last 5 years or so, we started focusing on, contributing to the record and creating the material. But of course, the pandemic was thrown in there as well. So we didn't do much traveling back and forth to record or whatever. So it was, it just, as years or months turn into years and years turn into a decade. So.
Yeah. It's funny. There's a YouTube video of Nuno being asked over the course of like 7 or 8 years, maybe even 10, when is the album coming out? And he's always saying, it's going to come out soon. It's going to come out soon. I don't know if that's his personality where he likes to goof on people, but do you have songs on here as old as 7 years old, 10 years old?
There's absolutely, there's absolutely songs that old on the record. When we first got together and started writing riffs and whatever, presenting ideas to the whole project, it was a while ago, and again, other things kind of got in the way, a lot of unexpected things.
What's the oldest song?
Geez, it's hard for me to even remember. As much as a month goes by and you're like, wait, what was did we have that conversation last week, or did we have that conversation a month ago?
That's fine. I thought it all sonically blended too. I had written that question out for you, and I said, this album sounds like it was all recorded at the same time, maybe not necessarily written at the same time. Is that fair to say? It was.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you, it was all recorded pretty much in the same place and not in the same, room. So, even if, even if songs had been recorded like years apart, it's not like the setup had changed or the players had changed or whatever. So, it does have a cohesiveness. It wasn't like it was recorded a bunch of different studios, at different times.
Sometimes you get that with an album. You hear it's a little disjointed and it's different sonics, but I think Nuno's guitar tone was pretty consistent throughout, and the quality of the sonics was stellar.
Yeah.
So
Well, Nuno produced and mixed it too, so you know he definitely took the driver's seat on most aspects of the record, and then you know, so I think that there will be that consistency there where it was, you know, basically done by the same producer, you know.
yeah. Rise was your first single, killer song, great way to introduce the band, back out after the 15 years. And I couldn't help notice some of the religious potential connotations within it, and particularly tying it to the video with the big cross in the background. Was there any religious aspects to that song?
You know, I don't believe so. I think, you know, and again, I didn't write the lyrics. It's more, you know, obviously that
Yeah.
was more Gary's department, but it's more about the rise and fall of fame, of, you know, someone rising to the top and then they love to tear you down once you're up there. So the funny thing is, in the video with that kind of symbol behind us, it was a happy little accident because originally it was supposed to, you know, they brought in the lighting and they started, you know, putting this kind of pattern behind us, and one of the lights didn't work. And so we're like, okay, they're gonna go look for another light. But it's gonna be here in like 2 hours. We're like, oh, screw that. We're gonna start shooting the video now. And we kind of experimented with, you know, repositioning the lights, and then that one looked like it was like an arrow pointing up for Rise. So, you know, I wish I could tell you there was some grand scheme. It was all plotted out, but it was kind of a happy accident that now, you know, kind of symbolizes the song. And, you know, obviously a lot of people have seen it now, the symbols. So,
No, that's killer. And it's all, I already saw it on your shirts too, on the back and the front of your shirts.
yeah, right on.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's great, insightful. In 2016, I interviewed Gary, and he told me that on every Extreme album, there's always 2 or 3 surprise songs that maybe Extreme takes you down another path. What would you say are the 3 songs or the 2 songs on this album that are kind of surprises to fans?
Um, well, obviously the first one that comes to mind is the song "Beautiful Girls," which is a bit of kind of like this calypso, you know, beach vibe. So that one definitely kind of is the you know, like on Porn Graffiti we had "When I First Kissed You," which was kind of
Yes.
like you know, so again, without giving up too much of the album because it's not out yet, I think when people hear that they're going to be kind of like, okay, this is definitely a huge left turn for the band. But you know, there are, you know, the record is very diverse, as you know, listening to it. If people are expecting to hear 10 or 11 songs that sound like Rise, then they're going to be out of luck. But if
Mhm.
obviously in Extreme's career, we've always had so many different styles of music that we've, you know, been inspired by or have included in our catalog. If you go back to Three Sides to Every Story and all these on the albums, it's, you know, this one definitely, if for 11 songs, it takes you through a lot of different atmospheres and vibes for sure.
I agree. And it's got an angry, edgy vibe to it, aside from maybe some of the ballads, but still a lot of great rocking songs that are edgy.
Yeah, I'd say the first probably the first half of the record, you know, it definitely it kind of, there is that theme of, amongst some of the heavier stuff. But again, there's a lot of pop stuff and a lot of you know, well, you've heard it, but for the people that haven't heard it yet, there's definitely a wide variety of styles on the record.
My daughter is 18, and I let her hear Beautiful Girls. I said, look, there's a new pop band that just came out. And what do you think? She goes, wow, that's pretty good. Let me see what they look like. So I showed her the picture. She goes, that's not a boy band.
Yeah, it's like dad rock, right?
Dad rock, yeah. I said, yeah, no, we could have the same interests. So it's pretty cool. I liked it. I thought it made me smile, that song. It was a good song, good feeling.
Yeah, it's a good feeling vibe. It's but yeah, I'll be interested to see what people's take is on it when they finally hear it.
I'll really enjoy it on the beach with a beer in my hand. That's
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was reading the credits, and you have writing credits on Banshee. Killer song. What a great song that is. What was your involvement in that? And tell me a little bit of insight into the history of it.
The history of that one really was it was one of the first times that the band got together and started presenting material, or just, you know, and I remember just jamming on the verse riff, and then Nuno had the riff for the chorus, and we just kind of stumbled into, putting them together. And then I remember Gary coming up to my studio maybe like, I don't know, several months later. And I had always had the title in my head. So I gave Gary the title of the song idea. And then, we kind of looked up online what a banshee was and some of the characteristics of, this kind of femme fatale, a female. And so Gary took it from there and he goes, oh, I can sink my teeth into this. And then, he took it from there. And then I'm psyched because that's actually one of the songs that's coming out this month.
Oh, cool.
We shot a video for it. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was one of my favorites. I think my third, Rise, Banshee, and then X Out. I think if I had to pick them right now. Another great song, X Out. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that one's definitely a sonic. I guess. Oh yeah, you had asked me about two songs that might surprise you. I think that might be the other one.
That might be the other one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a very haunting feel to it. Very. Yeah. So I like that. Those are my three top ones right now that I always gravitate towards when I'm listening to it.
Right on. Cool.
When there's a lot of stuff in the press right now about bands inner fighting and inner turmoil with bands and saying things. From what I can recall, Extreme never had any drug abuse, rehabs, inner fighting, inner turmoil. You guys never had it. Was it really there and you kept it under wraps, or did it just not happen with you guys?
For sure we've never had the drug issues. Mm-hmm. There's never been like the stories of guys in rehab or whatever. So we've been fortunate enough that, been smart enough, I guess, not to let that ever get in the way, not just of the band, but of our personal lives, So, here we are, in our late 50s and 60, and I think everyone's holding up pretty good, knock on wood, we all have our health and we're all feeling good. As far as kind of, I think every band must have some internal, arguments or fights or stresses and things, there's stuff that's been there in Extreme. Mm-hmm. But we're not ones to shout it from the rooftop and start slinging mud at each other.
Right.
Because that's not good for anybody. It's not good for us, not good for our fans. So, we've worked stuff out and things are actually really great right now. But, when you were like making an album or, things of the creative nature, people can be very, we all have our shades of being either stubborn or very passionate about your work. And then, so it's easy to get, if someone may say something, it's easy to get maybe offended or get, have it cause resentment or stress. So yeah, there's always that kind of thing that happens, I think, in every band,
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think that's a great sentiment. And I think it's wonderful that Extreme really kept all that stuff tight to the vest so that the fans don't know political views, don't know any issues with inner turmoil or struggles. And I think that's what the fans want. We love you guys for the music, and I think we appreciate that. But I also think that there's, as you mentioned earlier, there's something good about a little healthy friction going on that makes the music even better and even stronger. And I really like that aspect of hearing that too, that you guys have a little bit of that healthy friction going on sometimes for a song.
Yeah, because of course, again, if there isn't friction, then it means you're not passionate about it. So
right.
I think that's where, like, again, any kind of inner turmoil, it's just because people are just very passionate about what their opinion is or their contribution.
My first introduction to Extreme was at the Cat Club. I believe it was in 1989, just right when your album came out, 88, 89.
Okay.
I was wondering if you remember that night at the Cat Club. It was a really, really great night. The place was packed and you guys were on fire.
I can't say I specifically remember. I remember the name, the Cat Club, but I don't remember like what it looked like inside or what, I do remember going there, I think, at least a couple of times back in the heyday, but it definitely, those were very fond, memory, those days really bring up fond memories of just like the early rise of Extreme and those hot, sweaty clubs and passionate fans in what was such a great time in music and just less. It was a time where everyone was focused on the show and having fun, and no one was holding their phone up, to
Yes.
film you. Because it's a whole new era. Every time I go to a show now, and everyone's holding up their phone. I'm like, why don't you put your phone down and actually watch a rock concert? So
I agree.
it was a
I get
different
the
time.
person standing in front of me with the phone like this. I was like, really?
Yeah, it's
What are
definitely
you
annoying
getting?
at this point. And as if they're even going to go back on their phone and watch it. Maybe they'll
Right.
send it to a friend, like, "Hey, look, I'm here." Well, they could be there too. So put your phone down and watch the show.
I agree with you 100%. My fondest memory was seeing you at the Cat Club and watching Nuno on one of his solos, and he was playing guitar and he's yawning, and it just blew me away. I was like, "Oh my God!" He was doing some really hard runs that were just absolutely impossible in front of this whole rock club that was probably all guitar players, or wannabe bands, and he was just like, goofing on him. It was pretty good.
Yeah,
I'll
like
get that.
patented move that he still keeps in his back pocket. I've seen him. He usually does it during the Play With Me solo,
Okay.
and yeah, it always puts a smile on my face because most people are, I mean, I've seen some people attempt to do the solo, and they had this whole Play With Me challenge recently.
Oh, really?
But yeah, he's the only person I know that can do it one-handed while he's yawning at the same time.
That's fantastic. And I think the last time I saw you guys was at Starland Ballroom, 2019, right before the pandemic hit. What a killer show that was. Oh my God, I was so happy to see you guys because it was a long stretch before since you guys were in town. And then, then we had the pandemic, so we haven't seen you.
Yeah, it'll be fun to come back. I'm sure
Yeah.
this summer we'll at least be close to you guys. So I'm hoping we do come to New Jersey too. But we have stay tuned for some touring plans that are going to be announced pretty shortly.
Well, I could always come to where you guys are, so that's okay.
Yeah, come up to Boston too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It was funny. That show too is when Gary took his foot and put it on your shoulder while you were playing. I was like, oh my God, how does this guy stretch like that? And you look over and there's a foot on your shoulder. It's funny.
Yeah, he still does that kind of stuff. He's very
Yeah.
acrobatic, let's say.
Oh yeah, he's got some great moves. He's got some really good stage moves. I'm a guitar player, and being a guitar player, I've always thought that the bassist was one of the most important members of the band. He was kind of the ambassador of the rhythm section between the guitar and the bass driving the song. And I was just wondering what your perspective of the bass player and your role in the band in the studio as well as live. What's your take on that?
Well, really playing bass, I think you put it well. It is kind of like that middle ground as far as it's, a rhythm instrument, but it's also melodic or holding down the bottom end of, the root note of whatever's happening on top, vocals or chords or whatever. So I think it's important for, like I always tell people, the thing about bass is that the notes you don't play are almost as important as the notes you do play. Because I think as far as a groove and holes are so important, where guys who play a lot and shred too much, I think it kind of it's not then as much of a rhythm instrument. It's so for me, like I think bass should be felt and get your ass to move. But it shouldn't stand in the way of like melodies and solos and chords and stuff that are happening over it. It kind of has to have its place within the at least in a rock band setting.
You do a fantastic job of that, and plus you're always doing the backup singing, so it all works really well.
No, thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. And I see your EVH Bumblebee guitar in the background too.
Yeah, one of my babies.
Yeah.
Love Eddie. Eddie is a big hero of mine growing up.
Eddie's my biggest,
Really?
He changed the way people played guitar from the time we all heard Van Halen 1 till now. He changed the whole game.
He did. He really did. I can't play like him, but I always dream to, and I just enjoy listening to him now more than anything else. It's just
such a big loss,
Yep. And it's incredible about that music too, is how each one had its own flair, its own tone and its own style. And sometimes I go back and I was like, oh, this is my favorite tone. And then this album is my favorite tone. So it's always going back and hearing something new and loving something different about it.
All right. So what's your favorite Van Halen album, and what's the runner-up?
All right, good. Women and Children. Hands
Really?
down. Hands down. You?
You know, I have to always go back to Van Halen 1, because that for me was the game changer. And
Mhm.
pound for pound, like song after song, I never get tired of listening to that record. And then I think my runner-up might be Fair Warning. I love that
Fair
record.
Warning's great too. Yeah, that's my second. Women and Children was my introduction to Van Halen. I didn't know the first, I didn't know the second, and until they started playing The Cradle Will Rock on the radio, and I was like, what is this? And then I kind of went backwards. So that I think I gravitate towards that because of
You know, it's that somehow kind of happened to me, but it was when I first heard Unchained is when I got, like, you know, that was on the radio, and it was like 1980 or 81. And then I had to run out and buy every album since, you know,
Yeah.
right at that time. I think I bought 3 of them right at the same time after I bought Fair Warning. So
I remember trying to play it and on the guitar. Maybe I was only playing a year or two. If you don't have the right pedals and you didn't have the right amp sound, and you obviously couldn't play what he was doing, but it was so frustrating and it was so hard and it was such a turnoff to playing guitars. Like, how am I ever going to get to be this guy when you don't have the right equipment and the right talent to do it? So it was a little challenging.
well, let's face it, when Eddie came out and people first heard Eruption, a lot of guitars went into the fireplace. So
Yeah, I would believe that. I was like really ready to take my guitar and the turntable, just like I'm done. I want to be respectful to your time, and I have one last question for you. You talked a little, you hinted about a tour coming up. Is there any songs that you're going to be looking to play off of this new album? And understanding this interview is not going to be coming out until June, as per your press.
oh, it isn't coming out. Yeah, so even though the interview won't be coming out for a little while, I know, you know, obviously when you release singles, those are usually the ones that you know, people are kind of expecting to hear. So
Yeah.
I would definitely expect to hear Rise and Banshee, and we have another song called #Rebel. It's we shot a video for, and that'll be coming out this month as well. So we're kind of prepping to at least do those ones on the Masters of Rock cruise, which will have already happened by the time this interview comes out. But then you know, we haven't really talked about the rest of the record yet. You know, I think we're just going to start with the songs that are being released or that we've shot videos for, and then you know, we'll see what happens. And then, you know, I would expect throughout a tour we may, you know, have, you know, 5 or 6 ready to go, but probably
Yeah.
swap them out depending on the night. You know.
Okay, great. Well, I look forward to seeing you when you come in this area. And again, if you don't come to this area, I'm going to come to your area to see you guys. So
Right
I look
on.
forward to it. So it was a pleasure speaking with you. It was such an insightful interview, and I really can't say enough great things about the album. I love it. So I wish you the best of luck with it.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a
All
great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
See ya.